Hey survivors, Camille from Surviving a Badge, welcome back. Let's talk about an interesting coincidence between the Idaho student murders that happened just over a week ago and the Gainesville Ripper case, shall we? So I was, strangely enough, I was painting the house and I was thinking about this case. And it occurred to me that the Idaho student murder case is extremely similar to another case that happened here in Florida in 1994, the Gainesville Ripper. A individual was going around murdering college students at the University of Florida, and they were living in off-campus housing, just like the Idaho case. He ended up killing 5 UF students, all off campus. He actually used a K-bar knife, and that'll come into play in a minute. And my prediction is that just like Danny Rawlings, the Idaho murder case is going to be a transient or a homeless individual, similar to Danny Rawlings' case. I dare not say copycat. It might just be a lot of coincidences in this case. So if you don't know, and I'm sure you do, over a week ago there were 4 University of Idaho students brutally murdered in their off-campus housing in one apartment. There was 6 people there at the time. 3 of them lived there, and one of the gentlemen who was slain, he was staying the night with his girlfriend. Somebody, and they do not have a lead yet, but somebody entered the home and murdered these children with a knife, which is a very brutal, up-close, rage-filled murder instrument. And law enforcement, lo and behold, is looking for a K-bar knife, just like in the Danny Rawlings case. And a lot of people are thinking, well, how did they overpower, or how did this individual overpower 4 college students? Well, take into the fact that it was very early hours, they were probably sleeping, and if you get somebody in the right spot, or you overpower them and you duct tape them, you can do it, and you use threat and intimidation. A knife, specifically the K-bar knife, is a very menacing weapon. So I don't think that's too much to ask that this individual was able to either kill these victims in their sleep or overpower them. The authorities still have no clue who this scumbag is who murdered these innocent lives. And last week I did a brief episode on this, and we talked about a gentleman that was standing outside a food truck with 2 of the ladies. Well, they have cleared that individual. Then there was another individual, the driver who drove those ladies home. They've cleared that individual. They've cleared the other roommates. They've cleared an ex-boyfriend. So who does that leave? My opinion, my gut tells me, my 25 years in law enforcement tells me that this individual is a transient, is a homeless person, and has not yet become on the radar of law enforcement. I think he will. I think it's only a matter of time before they get this guy, but I really, really feel that this is where this is going to go. They'll match it through DNA. Whenever there's a stabbing, blood is very slippery, and 90% of the time, the individual doing the stabbing, especially if it's a lot of stabbing, they injure themselves. There's probably some fingerprints. But if the individual's not in CODIS, they can't just run it and it'll be nothing. So they have to actually identify an individual to run in CODIS and compare to the blood left at the scene, which is a long thing. We're all used to, let's wrap it up in a half an hour. No, some of these investigations, especially when you've eliminated everybody, these investigations can take some time. So another thing happened just the other day that came out in the news was there was apparently I think it was an Australian shepherd or some kind of shepherd that within 3 miles, which is not a long distance, was brutally killed, apparently almost dressed like a deer according to some of the records. And law enforcement, they've been saying some weird things. First they said with the dog, that has nothing to do with it. Now, if they know who did the dog, let's say they've identified the person who actually brutally murdered this dog and skinned it or whatever they did to it, dressed it like a deer, and they're like, oh yeah, that's that sicko, Bobby Smith. We know he did it, so we know that he's not involved. Well, they've also said some other things that are a little suspicious. They have no idea who murdered these students, and yet they're telling people, oh, it's fine. There's no worry. There's no concern. BS. They have no idea who this is. They have no idea if they're going to come back and get somebody else. Just like in the Danny Rollins case, they had no idea who this individual was until they stumbled across a tent, and then they developed some leads. I'm telling you, the two cases are strikingly similar. Danny Rollins, 1994, used a K-bar knife, killed 5 university students in off-campus housing. He was a transient. He was from Shreveport, Louisiana. It's a great case. It's a horrible case, but it's an interesting case study. And I think the similarities in this Idaho case are just striking. I really, really think it's going to come down to they're going to find somebody who happens to be obviously severe mental health issues, some rage issues. And I think my gut tells me that this person is a homeless or a transient from somewhere else, and they've eliminated everybody else, and that's where my gut is telling me. Now let's talk a little bit about the dog situation. There is a device, a theory. It's called the McDonald Triad. Now, the McDonald Triad takes and it's a study of serial killers for the last several decades, and they look at the history of these serial killers, and they found that many, many things are very similar in all these serial killers. One, animal abuse. One side of the triangle, animal abuse. The other side is arson, and then the third side is enuresis, which happens to be late-term bedwetting outside of the normal parameters of a child when they're supposed to grow out of it in a later age. And they found that a lot of these serial killers suffer from all three of these things. And when I heard about the dog that was dressed like a deer, just red flags went off, and I just really think that we're dealing with an Idaho Police Department. The Moscow Police Department is kind of downplaying the possible threat because they do not want to cause a panic and a terror among this college town. But I really think that the threat is not over. This person's still out there, and if that person's capable and able to murder in cold blood these 4 Idaho students, I think they are totally able to do more even until he's caught, and he won't stop. So that is my connection between the Idaho murder and the Danny Rollins, the Gainesville Ripper case. I think I'm right, and you should really look into the Gainesville Ripper. Send me a comment. Let me know what you think about this connection I'm making between the Gainesville Ripper and the Idaho case, and how many different similarities there are from the K-bar, from the off-housing students, the students, you name it. I think there's just stark how many similarities there are in this case. Also, like and subscribe. Tell us what you think about our shows. We're on a little bit of a hiatus for Thanksgiving. That's why I'm doing these individual, and LT and John are going to do some individual videos as well. Like I said, like and subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and always at Surviving the Badge, we still got your 6.